Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress. As I'm recording this video, it is Saturday, the 17th of April 2021, which means it's only 2 days, 48 hours till the resumption of the Candidates Tournament. It's very exciting. I hope you are looking forward to it as much as I do. As a famous sports broadcaster once said, the sense of anticipation is almost unbearable. This event is the 29th candidate cycle in the history of the official and undisputed World Championship, and on Chess to Impress we've been counting down towards the great event by looking at the first 28 candidate cycles in history. Before we go down in history, let's look at the tournament table of this event. We have two leaders, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and Jan Nepomniachtchi are on 4.5 points out of 7 games. As you can see in the second column, in round 7, actually Vachier-Lagrave beat Nepomniachtchi to draw level at the top of the rankings. Nepomniachtchi has a slightly easier second half with 4 white games. Vachier-Lagrave has only 3 white games. They both have 3 whites and 3 blacks against the rest of the field, but in their game they play against each other. Nepomniachtchi will have the white pieces in round 13. But by that time somebody else might have caught up, because 4 players, Grischuk, Giri, Cao Rana and Wang Ho, are only a full point behind. Alexeyenko and Ding are outsiders to become Magnus Carlsen's new challenger. And these are the pairings for round 8 on Monday the 19th of April. Cao Rana will play Vachier-Lagrave, Wang Ho Ding, Nepomniachtchi Giri and Alexeyenko Grischuk. This is the mirror image of the pairings from round 1 a long time ago. As said, on Chess to Impress we've been building up towards the resumption by looking at the first 28 candidate cycles in the history of the game. It all started in London 1883, where Zukertort and Steinitz won the tournament, and they played their first official World Championship match 3 years later. The first world champion Wilhelm Steinitz gained the right for a rematch against the second world champion Emanuel Lasker in St. Petersburg 1895-1896. And Paul Keres from Estonia gained the right to challenge world champion Aljechin by winning the Avro tournament in the Netherlands in 1938. That match never happened because of World War II interfering. David Bronstein won the candidate cycle in Budapest and Moscow in 1950. 1 year later he played Botvinnik for the world title. Vasily Smyslov won 2 candidate cycles and played 3 matches against world champion Botvinnik. Misha Tal was Botvinnik's next challenger. He played 2 matches against Botvinnik, and Petrosyan ended the Botvinnik era. He qualified in 1962 and beat Botvinnik the year after. Boris Spassky won 2 candidate cycles in 1965 and 1968. He lost the first match for the world title against Petrosyan, but won the second match. And then we had a match of the century, Spassky against Fischer. Fischer qualified by winning the candidate cycle, which finished in 1971. Anatoly Karpov beat Viktor Korchnoi in Moscow 1974 in the candidates final, gained the right to challenge world champion Bobby Fischer for the world title. Fischer didn't play, Karpov became a world champion by default. Viktor Korchnoi won the next 2 cycles and lost each time to Karpov in a world championship match. Garry Kasparov became the 13th world champion in 1985 after having won the candidate cycle in 1984. Karpov came back, won the next 2 cycles. These 2 giants, Karpov and Kasparov, played a total of 5 world championship matches against each other. And that era was broken by Nigel Short, who won the next candidate cycle in 1993. It was Anand's turn to play Kasparov in 1995, and it should have been Alexei Shirov to play Kasparov, after Shirov beat Kramnik in Cazorla in 1998. But Shirov never got a match. Kramnik did and became the 14th world champion in the year 2000. Peter Leko was Kramnik's first challenger, and in 2007 we had a world championship tournament. Aranyan, Gelfand, Grischuk and Leko qualified for that world championship tournament, which was won by Anand. Anand then defended his world title against Kramnik. It's not on this list because Kramnik did not have to play any games to qualify for that match. Topalov, Gelfand and Carlsen were Anand's next 3 challengers. Carlsen won. Anand came back. He qualified for a rematch against Carlsen by winning the candidates tournament in Khanty-Mansiysk 2014. Carlsen won again, and Karyakin and Cao Rana were Carlsen's last 2 challengers. Moscow 2016 is there in red because this video is about that cycle. And we'll find out very soon who will be Carlsen's next challenger. and that match will be held in Dubai in December of 2021. As said in this video, we're going to look at 2016. The candidates tournament to determine the challenger was held on March 11th till March 30th in Moscow in Russia. FIDE's, the World Chess Federation commercial partner Aegon, was the official organizer with support from the Russian Chess Federation. The tournament was an 8-player double round robin with 5 different qualification paths. And these were the 8 players. The loser of the last World Championship match was Viswanathan Anand. He qualified for this candidates tournament. The winner of the Chess World Cup was Karyakin and the runner-up was Fiedler. They also qualified. And the top 2 finishers of the FIDE Grand Prix cycle were 2 Americans, Caruana and Nakamura. On rating, Topalov and Giri qualified, and the wildcard nomination was the very popular Levon Aronian. The tournament winner was decided in the final round between Karyakin and Caruana. Before this round, these were the only 2 players who could win the tournament, having 7.5 points each out of 13 games. For Caruana to win the tournament, he needed to win the game, or draw and rely on Anand to win with black against Fiedler. Then Caruana would have a better tiebreak than Karyakin. These were the final standings. Karyakin won the tournament. He beat Caruana in the last round, and he finished on 8.5 out of 14 games. Caruana and Anand finished in second place, and Fiedler, Aronian, Giri and Nakamura all finished on 50%. Giri with his famous 14 draws out of 14 games. Veselin Topalov had a terrible tournament, did not win a game and lost 5. And this is a picture of a very happy Sergei Karyakin after his win over Caruana in round 14. He would give Magnus Carlsen a big run for his money in a World Championship match later that year. Let's play some chess. Let's look at that final game between Karyakin and Caruana. It is the 28th of March 2016, white Sergei Karyakin with a rating of 2760 and black Fabiano Caruana with a rating of 2794. Karyakin is analyzing this game in the magazine New in Chess, and I'm using his comments for this video. Karyakin writes, "In this last round I simply wanted to concentrate on my game and play well, and that's a very good attitude to start the game with. Let's put the opening moves on the board. We have a Sicilian, and d6 is played by Caruana. Caruana had not played the classical Sicilian with black since 2009, but he needed to win this game, so he goes for this sharp opening." Karyakin writes, "Fabiano pins his hopes on the complicated Rouser variation, which is currently not so popular." The Rouser is on the board, and let's put some more moves on the board. f4 and then h6. At a press conference, Caruana revealed that by way of preparation he had played through the games of the Chinese Grandmaster Li Chao, who's an expert in this opening with black. The bishop goes back to h4, and now there are 2 alternatives to the move played in the game. You can play g5 here, or knight takes e4. Those are the main moves. Karyakin says knight takes e4 is too provocative for such a game because of queen e1, attacking the knight, knight back to f6, and then knight f5. But that's a different game. As mentioned, on the 10th move, b5 was Caruana's choice. Karyakin took on f6, g takes, and now plays f5. The idea of weakening the light squares around the black king seemed very tempting to me, said Karyakin. Especially since, compared with variations with the pawn on h7, there's no longer the important bishop maneuver from f8 to h6 to f4. Very instructive explanation from Karyakin. That bishop wants to go to f4 in many variations, but that is not possible here because there is now a pawn on h6. Queen b6 from Caruana, and Karyakin took on e6, recapture, and knight takes e6. Karyakin plays as solidly as possible in this crucial game. Karyakin recaptured with the queen. Let's put some more moves on the board. h5, queen c5, rook hf1, and a5 from black, and b3. Karyakin says, "I like this move, after which the bishop is guaranteed a more worthy place." And with that he means the c4 square. That's a nice square for the bishop, and we'll see the bishop appear there very soon. Rook g8 was played by Caruana. a4 is the alternative, but Karyakin says no matter how natural this move looks, it is a mistake because it weakens the b4 pawn. As the famous trainer Mark Dvoretsky explains, black wants his queen on e5, and not on c5, defending the b4 pawn. And that is the task of the a5 pawn, and that's why the pawn needs to stay on a5, keep the b4 pawn protected so that the queen can be redeployed to e5, which is a better square for the queen. Again, very instructive. And that's why Caruana did not play a4, he played rook g8, attacking the g2 pawn. Karjakin saves that pawn. King e7, the black king remains in the center, no castling from black, and we'll see that that plays a big role in this game. Bishop c4, as promised, that is a nice square for the bishop, and bishop e3. Karjakin says, expressing in ice hockey terms, skillfully knocking the puck into the danger zone. Being Russian, Karjakin is a big ice hockey fan. Rook f3 and rook g4. Caruana's position looks quite attractive on the surface. His pieces are actively placed and he has good chances. However, his king is on e7 and that should always be kept in mind. The game goes on. Let's put more moves on the board. Karjakin improves his knight. That gets taken. And now a4 anyway. B takes, and queen d3. Karjakin says the idea of the pawn sacrifice is now in the air. Yes, white is going to sacrifice something. Bishop drop back. Bishop b3, rook g5 and e5, and that is a pawn sacrifice. Karjakin says there were no real threats by black to strengthen his position, but I now wanted to clarify the situation. The pawn sacrifice was accepted by Caruana, and here you can play queen h7 check, rook f7 and queen h8, and that was also interesting with dynamic equality, says Karjakin. In the game after black took the pawn, he did not give the check on h7, he played rook c4. Rook d5, attacking the queen, queen stepped aside, queen b6, rook h4, rook e5, attacking the queen again, queen d3 and bishop g2. Caruana wants to play d6, d5 but would like to keep his bishop actively placed on e4. In some ways this is a highly ambitious move. Very instructive again, playing the bishop to g2 so that it can go back to e4 after the d pawn plays, and then the bishop will not be passive on c6. Rook d4, good centralization, writes Karjakin, and there comes that d pawn, queen d2 and rook e4 on move 36. Caruana was in terrible time pressure and missed white's next move. Karjakin was expecting bishop e4, and then you can take on b4, that pawn is hanging, queen c6 and king b2 with approximate equality according to Karjakin. But rook e4 was played, and that is a mistake. Because now there is a rook sacrifice. Rook takes d5, exclamation mark. Karjakin writes, this decisive move came to mind quite quickly, but there was too much at stake to make it without checking the variations. Karjakin checked the variations and saw that it worked. The rook was taken, queen takes. Karjakin writes, a lack of harmony in black's ranks prevents him from defending his isolated king, and that is the big problem for black. His king is in the open and will get ambushed by white's pieces. We'll start with a mate threat on d7. We have to defend against that. Queen c7 was played, and now queen f5. And queen to h7 is an extremely difficult threat to meet, says Karjakin. Rook f7 was played by Caruana, and here Fabiano offered me a draw, writes Karjakin. Let us put this down to nervous tension and an excessively high stakes, because white is totally winning. That bishop can be taken, and it was taken. Queen e5, rook d7 check, king f8 and rook d8 check, and here Fabiano Caruana resigns. If he takes the bishop, then there is queen h7 check, king e6, and this is checkmate. Sergei Karjakin had qualified to challenge Magnus Carlsen for the world title. Fabiano Caruana had to wait 2 more years till it was his turn. I covered the Carlsen-Karjakin match in my series on all the World Championship matches. The link to the Carlsen-Karjakin video is up here. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll keep counting down towards the resumption of the Candidates Tournament with me. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.